2021 continues to be the year of the injury. We have an update on foreign substances and waiver wire options next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Tuesday, June 15th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White, and we had injuries to two of the game's best starting pitchers on Monday. Shane Bieber went to the IL with a right shoulder strain. Tyler Glasnow was removed from Monday's start with right elbow inflammation, and I would be surprised, Scott, if we see Shane Bieber before the second half of the MLB season. And then with Glasnow, this kind of comes with the territory because we know he dealt with a forearm injury back in 2019. So what do you think about these two?
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily related for Glasnow. He had shown no health issues all season, really in the start. It's not like the velocity dropped or anything. He said he felt a tug on his elbow on his last couple pitches, and inflammation is a pretty vague description for an injury. It may end up being a minimal thing. That's what I'm hoping for Glasnow. And really, in Bieber's case, it's hard to know the extent of the injury at this point either. We know they're shutting him down for 2 weeks, and then they're going to reevaluate him, which suggests to me that it may only be 2 weeks they have to shut him down. He'll probably need at least one rehab start, if that's all it ends up being. And so maybe we see him before the All-Star break, but it probably wouldn't be much more before. And yeah, there's a chance he needs even more time to recover and is shut down even longer. So between the two, knowing what I know right now, I would say Bieber's is a little more concerning, but I don't think it's panic time if you have either of these guys yet, because I'm feeling like they'll both be back sooner than later. That's my initial inclination. Of course, we need to find out more.
This means people need waiver wire options to help them with the loss of these two starting pitchers. And Scott, who are your three favorites from this group of Austin Gomber, Tarek Skubal, Mike Minor, Tucker Davidson, Logan Gilbert, and Vladimir Gutierrez?
So I would say that my favorite is probably Tarek Skubal. What we've seen, the improvements we've seen from his secondary pitches and getting more swinging strikes, getting more strikeouts in recent starts. But we've seen that from Logan Gilbert, at least his last two outings. And we know he has a lot of upside as well. So those, just for the upside, those would be my top two, Skubal and Gilbert. Austin Gomber is looking awfully usable, even in his home starts. His most recent start Monday night, 8 shutout innings at home in Colorado. But that's still just such a difficult environment to pitch in. And it seems to come back and hurt most every pitcher who's ever pitched for the Rockies. So I would still bet on that happening to Gomber in the long run, and would be reluctant to put too much faith in him, as good as he's been recently. So I might actually lean Mike Minor over Gomber, but it's pretty close between those two.
We received an update on the foreign substance situation, and this comes according to Jeff Passan of ESPN. The MLB is expected to announce on Tuesday that it will suspend players caught with any foreign substance for 10 days with pay. That includes widely used sunscreen and rosin combination and spider tack. This will officially begin next Monday on June 21st. So 2 questions here, Scott. How will this affect things in fantasy baseball? And are there any particular players that you're worried about as a result of this?
So how it will affect things, I think knowing that the penalty is, it seems pretty minor. 1 turn in the rotation, basically, and you still get paid. So I don't know if that's enough of a deterrent to keep pitchers from trying to get away with it. They might have to be sneakier about it than they were in the past. I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll be a situation where if they get busted, there will be such a stigma that develops, like with PEDs, that maybe that's enough of a deterrent, but I think it remains to be seen. But we've already seen, just looking at spin rates across the league the past couple of weeks, we've already seen pitchers moving away from it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know who's going to be affected the most. I think we can say most confidently that Trevor Bauer will, because we have a pretty clear timeline based on some of his comments from the past, what he started doing and when. And in 2018 when he was arguably the best pitcher in the AL, still pitching for the Indians at that point. That was before any of this came up. So we know there's still an ace outcome in there for Bauer. Not all hope is lost, but spin rate's been way down his last 2 outings, and he's been pretty shaky. So I would treat him more like a top 12 pitcher than a top 5 pitcher at this point, Bauer. And so if you can trade him for like a Lucas Giolito, that might be something I'd have to consider. Obviously, that's threading a needle on the trade market, but it's something I'd have to consider.
Yes, and if you want to hear more about potential Trevor Bauer trade scenarios, you can listen to the full-length Fantasy Baseball, and you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a 5-star review on Apple. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.